as well as it possibly can be for the right products and getting the customers and making sure your distribution and everything is in place. At Staples, for instance, when we got going, we didn't, rent some big fancy office building to start the business. We were brand new. And so the managers there and our team said, look, we're going to use the back of an old shopping center that had pretty much been abandoned, and we're going to use the back of that. That's where our offices will be. And we got used furniture for the people who worked there. I remember the boardroom. We had some big old table, and it was surrounded by these used Naugahyde chairs. And these things were so old, to get out of them, once you sat down, you had to be athletic to rise out of these things. Now, I compare that, by the way, with what happens with President Obama's government giving hundreds of millions of dollars to some startup company like Solyndra. All right? And by the way, their corporate headquarters looks like the Taj Mahal. I've been there to see this thing, all right? And by the way, let's look at the results. Today, Staples employs roughly 90,000 people. And Solyndra, I think you know how many people it employs. Look, the president does not understand how the private sector works. He does not understand how small business works. He doesn't understand what it takes for a business person like John to say, okay, let's hire another person. Let's train them. Let's invest in that person. He doesn't understand that these people are the ones who build these enterprises, not government. The president the other day, you heard what he said. I couldn't believe what he said. It may go down as the most famous quote of his entire presidency. When he said, if you have a business, you didn't build that, someone did that for you. He does not understand. He does not understand that it's entrepreneurs of all kinds that have built this country, free individuals reaching for excellence, reaching for achievement. It's kids saying, I'm going to study hard to see if I can make the honor roll. I'm not going to give credit to the bus driver that got them there. I appreciate the work of the bus driver. I love the bus driver. I want as many good bus drivers as possible. But if that kid got the honor roll, it's because he or she earned it, not because the bus driver got him there. And if somebody working in a factory or in a shop like this decides, I'm going to get some more skills, I'm going to take some more training so I can get a job promotion and can do an even better job. If someone decides to do that, but I know that to get those skills and to get that training, he or she had to drive their car, and that means they had to have a license, and that meant the DMV had to give them a license. But if they got that promotion, they deserve credit for it, not the DMV. And when John McCandless and his sons took the risk with the money they'd saved to start these businesses and to hire other people, the credit goes for building these businesses to them and to the people they hired, the people who worked here, not to government. I appreciate government, but it did not build this business. The McCandless people, they're the ones who built this business. Now, the president has been saying, well, we're taking them out of context. But then you go look at the rest of his speech. It's on YouTube. The context is worse than the quote. All right? He says, well, that people who begin businesses like this think they're smart. But he said a lot of people think they're smart and are smart. And he said, and they think they're working hard. But a lot of people work hard. I don't know where he's going with this idea. We celebrate people who are smart and work hard to get smarter. We celebrate people who work hard. We celebrate achievement in this country. We do not celebrate government. This goes back to the very beginning of America. This is something that is so fundamental to us and to the American spirit that we're surprised as we hear the president talk about smart and hard work and who built a business in the way he did. It just seems so strange to us, because we know that when the founders wrote the Declaration of Independence, they saw something which was perhaps beyond their years and experience. They saw something perhaps inspired or just brilliant. They said this: it was not government that gave us our rights. These rights were endowed upon us by our Creator. And among these rights were life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Free people in this country, people who've come here for centuries, people who come here today seeking these freedoms: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The right to pursue happiness as they choose. That's what's made America the powerhouse we are, and respected around the world. I just came back from overseas. I got the chance to meet a hero. I met Lech Walesa, a man who said no to despots, a man who said no to oppression. I'm always impressed by the power of one person to say no to people who would be oppressive, and to make a difference, and in some respects change their lives, their families' lives, the lives of their community, perhaps even the life of a nation. Lech Walesa was one of those who said no to the tyrants from Russia that were occupying his country, and led to a change that has brought freedom to millions of people. I think of Rosa Parks, who was on that bus when the bus driver said, "Give up your seat for this white man," and she said no. She said no. Former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice spoke about that fellow in Tunisia who was told by a government bureaucrat that he couldn't open up his fruit stand, and took away his fruit stand wares. And he, in protest, committed suicide by self-immolation. And from that became a revolution throughout the Middle East that continues to roll. I think about Mr. Ceausescu. Remember the story of this man who was leading his nation as a tyrant and a dictator, and he got a crowd together to tell them about all the wonderful things he had done. About 200,000 people came together, and in this square he stood up and began to speak to them, and started going through all the wonderful things he'd done to make their life better. And an older woman looked up and said, "Liar," and said it again, "Liar." And then people around her began saying it. And then it spread throughout the entire crowd, and he had to turn to try and flee, and a soldier grabbed him and held him. Ultimately, he was executed. These moments where individuals stand and make a statement of freedom and say no to oppression, these change the world. These are times for all Americans, for all of us to stand in our own way, in our own communities, for the things we believe in most deeply. I love this country because of the freedom of our people here, of our ability to change the world. This is a time when the world needs American leadership. That's what Lech Walesa told me. He said, "MITT, the world needs American leadership." And that means leadership in our values and in our homes, leadership in our economy, leadership in our military. A strong America is the best ally peace has ever known. This is a time for choice for America. We're going to decide whether we're going to continue to have the policies of a president who's not had a job in the private sector, policies that have led America to have 42 straight months with unemployment above 8%, 23 million people out of work or stopped looking for work and underemployed. Those policies, we know where they lead. They lead to an America that's not as strong as it must be for ourselves, for our children, and for the world. Or we can instead take a course which I will represent, which is to keep America stronger, to get America to do the things that will get jobs again, get rising incomes again, make sure that people know their future's bright and their kids' future's bright. I love this country. I'm going to do everything in my power to keep America strong. We're going to take back America and keep America the hope of the earth. Thank you so very much.